A man who values himself never begs for attention. He does not chase after those who show him indifference. Yet so many men fail to see the signs: a cold glance, a delayed response, a lack of enthusiasm. They ignore reality, clinging to false hope, believing that if they try harder, she will see their worth. But Stoicism teaches us otherwise. It teaches us to see things as they are, not as we wish them to be. Picture a man standing in the rain, waiting for someone who never promised to meet him. The longer he waits, the colder he becomes. He tells himself, she must be late. Maybe she's stuck somewhere, or worse, perhaps she's testing my patience. But the truth is simple. She never intended to come. And yet he waits. He suffers not because she rejected him, but because he refuses to accept the rejection that was there from the start. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind and not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." When a woman shows no interest, that is an outside event. You cannot control how she feels, nor should you try. What you can control is your response. Do you continue to stand in the rain, or do you walk away with your dignity intact? A man who values himself understands this. When a woman does not want you, she does not hesitate to show it. It is in her body language, in her tone, in the way she looks at you, or rather the way she avoids looking at you. She does not ask about your day. She does not initiate conversation. She does not laugh at your jokes, nor does she remember the small details you once shared. Yet some men ignore these signs. They rationalize them, thinking, she's just busy, she's having a bad day, maybe she's shy. But the truth is painful. She simply does not care. And what does a Stoic do when faced with such truth? He accepts it. He does not argue with reality. He does not beg for love that is not freely given. He does not try to convince her that he is worthy, because a man who knows his worth does not need to convince anyone. He sees the signs, he acknowledges them, and then he walks away. Now you may ask, what if I am wrong? What if she does care but doesn't know how to show it? That is not your concern. A woman who wants you will make it known. There will be no confusion, no mixed signals, no second-guessing. And if you have to wonder, the answer is already clear. A man who chases after indifference is like a man trying to fill a broken cup. No matter how much he pours in, it will never be enough. But a man who walks away, he retains his power, he keeps his dignity, and in doing so, he becomes even more desirable, not just to women, but to himself. Rejection is not an insult. It is not a wound. There is a great paradox in attraction. When you chase, it runs. When you hold on too tightly, it slips away. But when you let go, when you move forward with certainty, you draw power back into yourself. You become more desirable, not because you sought approval, but because you showed that you do not need it. Consider the fire that burns too hot. If you stand too close, it scorches. If you lean in too much, it consumes. But if you step back, if you give it space, it breathes. And in that breath, it grows. The same applies to attraction, to respect, to self-worth. The man who learns to walk away does not lose. He gains something far greater than temporary affection. He gains control over himself. And that, my friend, is worth more than the fleeting interest of someone who never truly saw you in the first place. Walking away is not just about leaving. It is about reclaiming your power. It is about choosing yourself over someone who has already chosen not to invest in you. A Stoic man does not base his worth on external validation. He does not need someone's approval to know his own value. He does not seek love where it is absent, nor does he fear solitude. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "A man's worth is no greater than his ambitions." What is your ambition? To chase someone who does not care for you? Or to build yourself into a man who commands respect, who carries himself with dignity, who walks this world knowing that his presence is a gift, not a burden? Too often men waste years waiting for a woman to change, hoping that indifference will turn to love, that rejection will transform into acceptance. But love does not work that way. You cannot convince someone to want you. You cannot negotiate attraction. A man who understands this stops chasing ghosts. He stops dwelling on what could have been and focuses on what is. And what is the reality? That your energy, your time, and your presence are valuable. That giving them to the wrong person is a betrayal of your own worth. That every second spent trying to win over someone who does not appreciate you is a second stolen from your own growth. Imagine standing in front of a door that will never open, knocking, waiting, hoping. Now imagine turning around and walking away, toward an open road, toward endless possibilities, toward something greater. That is the choice before you. The moment you walk away is the moment you take control of your life. You stop being the man who waits. You become the man who moves forward, who embraces his path, who does not beg for love, but instead cultivates a life so full, so rich, that the right people gravitate toward him naturally. This is the way of the Stoic. This is the way of a man who values himself. When you walk away, something remarkable happens. The weight lifts. The endless cycle of self-doubt, overthinking, and questioning disappears. You no longer wonder why she doesn't call, why she seems distant, why she treats you as an afterthought. Because now, none of it matters. You have freed yourself from the illusion that her validation determines your worth. This is where true power lies, not in controlling others, but in controlling yourself. The Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus taught, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. In other words, when you allow someone's indifference to shake your confidence, you have given them control over you. But when you detach, when you walk away without bitterness, without resentment, you reclaim that control. Many men struggle with this because they fear regret. What if I leave and she changes her mind? What if I miss my chance? But a man who respects himself does not cling to what-ifs. He lives in the present. He accepts reality as it is, not as he wishes it to be. If she truly valued you, you would not have to wonder. And if she does not, then there is no future to hold on to. Only a lesson to be learned. Walking away does not mean you stop caring. It does not mean you become cold or bitter. It means you care more about yourself than about proving your worth to someone who does not see it. It means you choose peace over desperation, self-respect over rejection, dignity over pleading. And here's the irony. When you walk away, when you genuinely let go, the world shifts. The energy you wasted chasing her is now invested in yourself. You become stronger, more confident, more magnetic. And sometimes when you least expect it, the very people who once ignored you take notice. Not because you played games, not because you manipulated them, but because nothing is more attractive than a man who knows he does not need anyone's approval to feel whole. The question is, will you be that man? Will you have the courage to walk away, to accept what is, to trust that what lies ahead is far greater than what you leave behind? Or will you continue knocking on a door that was never meant to open? The choice is yours. When you finally walk away, you may feel an emptiness at first, the habit of chasing, of hoping, of waiting. It all fades, and in its place, there is silence. But this silence is not your enemy. It is your opportunity. This is where transformation begins. This is where you take all the energy you once poured into someone else and redirect it into yourself, into your purpose, your discipline, your strength. This is where you stop asking, "Why doesn't she want me?" and start asking, "What kind of man do I want to become?" Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." The moment you stop seeking validation from others, you unlock your true potential. You become the man who commands respect, not because he demands it, but because he embodies it. There is something powerful about a man who knows his worth, who does not chase, who does not beg, who simply moves forward. He does not look back because he understands that what is behind him is not nearly as important as what lies ahead. And what lies ahead? A life of self-mastery, a life where you dictate your value, where you set the standard for how others treat you, a life where rejection does not break you, but instead builds you into someone stronger, wiser, and more resilient. When you embrace this mindset, the world changes. You no longer settle for half-hearted affection, for one-sided effort, for being an afterthought in someone else's story. You become the author of your own story. And the best part, the more you invest in yourself, the more the right people will gravitate toward you naturally, not because you seek them, but because you have become someone worth seeking. So walk away, not in anger, not in sadness, but with the quiet confidence of a man who knows his worth, a man who refuses to settle, a man who understands that his value was never dependent on someone else's recognition, but on the way he carries himself through this world. This is the way of the Stoic. This is the way of a man who chooses himself. Now go and never look back.